Could Arda Guler actually be coming to Chelsea this summer? Let's talk about it. Imagine waking up one morning, checking your phone and seeing the words, Arda Guler, Chelsea, 100 million euros, Xabi Alonso. If you are a Chelsea fan, that headline either made your heart jump or made you very nervous. Maybe both. Because this is the kind of transfer story that does not come around very often. A 21-year-old who plays like a magician. A new manager who already knows him and loves him. A club that needs exactly what he brings. And a price tag that, while big, is one Chelsea can actually handle. So let us sit down and talk about all of this properly. Who is Arda Guler? What is actually happening with this transfer? Why does Xabi Alonso want him so badly? And what would it mean for Chelsea if this deal gets done? Grab a drink. This one is worth reading slowly. First, who exactly is Arda Guler? If you have been following European football over the last 2 or 3 years, you have probably seen the name pop up more and more. Arda Guler is a 21-year-old attacking midfielder from Turkey. He currently plays for Real Madrid, and before that, he came through the academy at Fenerbahce in Turkey, where he was already being described as one of the most talented young players in the world. Real Madrid signed him back in the summer of 2023 for around 20 million euros. At the time, people were saying this kid was special, like genuinely special, not just good for his age, but the kind of player who makes you stop what you are doing and watch. He is a right winger by position, but that label does not fully describe what he does. He can play as a number 10. He can drift inside from the right side and create chances. He has a left foot that would make most players jealous. His dribbling is clean and direct. He sees passes that most players simply do not see. And when he shoots, there is a calmness to it that you usually only see in players much older than him. But here is the honest truth. His first season at Real Madrid was not easy. The struggles at the Bernabeu. When Arda arrived at Madrid in 2023, things did not go the way anyone had hoped. Injuries set him back early. And then when he was fit, Carlo Ancelotti simply did not give him much time on the pitch. He was one of the most talented players at the club, but he was not playing. Chelsea fans will understand that kind of frustration. Seeing a player who clearly has something special, but not being given the consistent run of games to show it. In the 2024-25 season under Ancelotti, Guler started just 15 matches across La Liga and the Champions League. That is not enough for a player of his quality. It was starting to look like one of those situations where a young talent gets stuck behind more experienced players and never quite breaks through. And then everything changed. Xabi Alonso arrived at Real Madrid and unlocked everything. When Xabi Alonso took over at Real Madrid, one of the first things he did was give Arda Guler a real chance. Not just a few minutes here and there, a proper role, a spot in the team. Confidence. The difference was immediate. At last, summer's Club World Cup, Alonso started Guler in 5 of Real Madrid's 6 matches. 5. After everything he had been through, suddenly here was a manager who looked at him and said, "You are important to how I want to play." And Guler delivered. He carried that form all the way through the 2025-26 season. By the time the campaign ended, he had made 50 appearances for Real Madrid and put up 20 goal contributions across all competitions. He scored a stunning brace against Bayern Munich in the Champions League. He was playing with confidence, with purpose, with freedom. He looked like a completely different player to the one who was sitting on the bench a year earlier. The key was not his ability. The key was trust, and Xabi Alonso gave him that trust. So now ask yourself this question. If Alonso was the one who unlocked Arda Guler at Real Madrid, what happens when Alonso becomes his manager again at Chelsea? Xabi Alonso is coming to Stamford Bridge. On May 17th, 2026, Chelsea made it official. Xabi Alonso has been appointed as the new Chelsea manager on a 4-year contract. He begins his duties on July 1st. This is a massive deal for the club. Alonso is one of the most respected football thinkers in Europe right now. He took Bayer Leverkusen to their first ever Bundesliga title in an unbeaten season. He then went to Real Madrid, and now he is coming to Chelsea with a big brief, meaning he will have real influence not just over the team on the pitch, but also over recruitment decisions. In his own words, when he was appointed, he said, "Chelsea is one of the biggest clubs in world football, and it fills me with immense pride to become manager of this great club. We want to build a team capable of competing consistently at the highest level and fighting for trophies." That tells you everything about the ambition here. This is not just a new manager. This is the start of a new project, and transfers are going to be central to how that project takes shape. And one of the first names on Alonso's list, you already know who it is. Alonso personally wants Arda Guler at Chelsea. This is not just rumors floating around. Multiple reports have confirmed that Xabi Alonso personally pushed for Arda Guler to be signed as one of his first Chelsea transfer requests. He told the club he wants Guler. He is still in contact with the player. Guler himself has admitted that the communication between him and Alonso is ongoing. Think about what that means for a moment. The new Chelsea manager is not just open to signing Arda Guler. He is actively asking for him. He knows the player. He has worked with him. He knows exactly what Guler can do and where he fits in his system. There is no adjustment period for this relationship. There is no question of whether they can work together. They already have. And it worked brilliantly. That kind of manager-player connection is rare in football. When you have it, you do not let it go to waste. What is the actual transfer situation? Now, here is where we get into the details, because even when everything looks positive, there is always a complicated side to transfers. So what is really going on? The transfer fee being talked about is around 100 million euros. The screenshot that sparked all this conversation shows a price of 100 million. Reports from Spanish and English outlets have suggested Real Madrid would need around that figure to even open the door to negotiations. That is a lot of money. But is it too much? Let us put it in context. Arda Guler is 21 years old. He had 20 goal contributions this season. He is Turkish international. He is under contract at Real Madrid until 2029. He has already shown he can perform at the highest level when given the right support, and he is only going to get better. For a player of that profile, 100 million euros is not crazy. It is expensive, but it is not crazy. Chelsea have spent that kind of money before, and when you look at what the club needs right now, the investment makes a lot of sense. One important thing to note is that Chelsea are not the only club in this race. Arsenal have been tracking Guler since at least October 2024 and were reportedly preparing an offer of around 90 million euros. Liverpool have also been mentioned. Manchester United were involved in conversations at some point too. This is not a quiet pursuit. Multiple top clubs are watching this situation closely, and that means Chelsea will need to move decisively if they are serious about getting this done. Does Chelsea actually need Arda Guler? This is a fair question to ask. Chelsea already have Cole Palmer, who is one of the best young players in England. They have Pedro Neto. They have wingers and attacking midfielders already in the squad. So is there actually a need here? Honestly, yes. Cole Palmer had a difficult season by his own very high standards. The creativity and output that fans expected from him in central areas was not consistent enough. And when Palmer is not at his best, Chelsea have struggled to create from central positions. Guler is not just another player doing the same job as Palmer. He brings something slightly different. He can play on the right side and cut inside. He can operate as a true number 10. His ability to find space in tight areas and produce in big moments, like he showed against Bayern Munich, is something Chelsea currently lack a reliable version of. More importantly, under Xabi Alonso's system, having multiple creative players who can interchange and share responsibility is very important. Alonso is not the kind of manager who relies on one star to carry everything. He builds teams that move the ball quickly and play with collective intelligence. Guler fits that perfectly. The question is not really whether Chelsea need him. The question is whether they can get him before someone else does. The Enzo Fernandez factor. Here is an interesting twist in this story. While Chelsea are trying to bring Arda Guler in, there are reports that Enzo Fernandez wants to leave Chelsea this summer. Enzo has been a very good player for the Blues since he arrived from Benfica in January 2023. But reports suggest he wants to move to Real Madrid, who are interested in him as they rebuild under their own new management. If that happens, it opens up the possibility of a swap arrangement of sorts, even if not a direct player exchange. Chelsea lose Enzo and need a creative midfielder. Real Madrid get Enzo and are willing to sell Guler. Both clubs could end up happy. Whether that is how the deal actually comes together or not, the point is that the pieces are lining up in a way that makes this transfer more possible than it might have seemed a few months ago. The Champions League problem. Let us be honest about one of the biggest challenges here. Chelsea did not qualify for Champions League football next season. That is a significant issue when trying to attract top talent. Most elite players, especially those coming from clubs like Real Madrid, where they play in the Champions League every year, will want to know they can still compete at that level. Reports have suggested that Guler himself prioritizes regular European football. Arsenal, who did qualify for the Champions League, could use that as a major selling point in their pursuit of him. This is a real obstacle for Chelsea. It cannot be ignored. And if Guler is comparing his options carefully, the lack of European football next year is something Chelsea will need to have a very convincing answer for. What could that answer look like? Maybe it is the Alonso factor. Maybe it is the project Alonso is building and the promise that Chelsea will be back in European competition the following season. Maybe it is the relationship between Guler and Alonso being strong enough to overcome that concern. But it is still a conversation that needs to happen, and it is a real challenge Chelsea will face in convincing him to choose Stamford Bridge over a club that can offer him European nights next season. What kind of player would Chelsea actually be getting? Let us paint a picture of what Arda Guler actually looks like on a football pitch, because for fans who have not watched much of him, it is worth understanding exactly what the excitement is about. Imagine a player who lines up on the right wing but spends most of the game drifting inside into the number 10 position. He does it with purpose, not aimlessly. He is always looking to receive the ball in tight spaces between the lines, the kind of space that most players cannot operate in, but that the best players in the world love. He is strong for his size. Defenders find it hard to get the ball off him because he protects it well, and his low center of gravity makes him difficult to knock off balance. His passing range is excellent. He can play short combinations and also switch the play with precision. But where he is really special is in the moments that decide games. His goal against Bayern Munich this season was the kind of goal that makes you rewind a clip 6 or 7 times. Composed, precise, hit with a confidence that belongs to someone much older. At 21, he is already at this level. By 24 or 25, if he is given consistent football and the right support, the ceiling on his development is very high. What would this mean for the Chelsea project? Let us zoom out and think about the bigger picture here. Chelsea are starting a new chapter, a new manager with serious credentials, a young squad with real talent, an ownership group that has shown they are willing to invest. But the club needs direction. It needs a clear identity on the pitch. It needs players who fit the way the new manager wants to play. Signing Arda Guler would be a statement, not just a footballing statement, but a statement about where Chelsea are heading as a club. It would say, we can attract world-class young talent. We have a manager who has relationships at the highest level. We are serious about competing. For the Chelsea fan base, especially those who have watched a difficult few seasons, a signing like this would give real reason for optimism, not false hope. Real, genuine optimism based on evidence. A great manager who has already proven he can develop this exact player. A player who has already shown he can perform at the highest level. That combination is what fans dream about. The big question everyone is asking. So here is what it all comes down to. Will Arda Guler actually join Chelsea this summer? Honestly, it is still uncertain. There are good reasons to believe it could happen. The relationship with Alonso is real and ongoing. Chelsea have the financial muscle to make the move. The transfer fee, while big, is manageable. And Real Madrid, who are rebuilding again under yet another new manager in Jose Mourinho apparently, may be open to cashing in on a player whose value is at a peak right now. But there are also real obstacles. The lack of Champions League football is a genuine concern. Arsenal are pushing hard with their own offer. Real Madrid are not desperate to sell. And Guler himself, at least as of earlier this year, was not rushing to leave the Bernabeu. What has changed is Alonso. The man who gave Guler the chance he needed is now at Chelsea. And when your manager calls you and tells you he wants you to be a central part of his new project, that conversation changes things. If you were Arda Guler, would you want to reunite with the coach who believed in you when no one else did? Final thoughts. This is one of the most exciting transfer stories Chelsea have been involved in for a long time. It ticks so many boxes. Young player at the peak of his development. A manager who knows him personally and has already proven he can get the best out of him. A club that genuinely needs what he offers. A fee that is high but not impossible. The Xabi Alonso appointment on its own was already massive news for Chelsea fans. Adding Arda Guler to the mix would take it to a completely different level. Yes, there are challenges. The Champions League question is real. The competition from Arsenal and others is real. The price tag is significant. These are not small things. But football is also about moments, about when the right player and the right manager come together at the right club at the right time. And right now, everything is pointing towards a moment like that being possible at Stamford Bridge. Keep watching this one. It is far from over. And if Chelsea get this done, the summer of 2026 at Stamford Bridge could be the beginning of something really special. What do you think, Chelsea fans? Is Arda Guler the kind of signing that gets you properly excited about the new era under Xabi Alonso? And do you think Chelsea can convince him to come even without Champions League football to offer? Let us know in the comments. This conversation is just getting started. Up the Blues.